Ladies and gents, how you doing? I'm taking a request today for two reasons. First of all, because Gary F asked me to, and obviously you've got to give the people what they want. And secondly, and perhaps most importantly, it's because misery loves company. And if you think the UK is up excrement creek without a paddle, Ireland is basically neck deep in a lake of burning dog shit in the pits of hell. Right, I'm sure you've all heard about Enoch Burke, but there was another development yesterday. They're going to lock him up and throw away the key, aren't they? The story's on RTE and it's only from yesterday. It says High Court orders Enoch Burke to be imprisoned immediately. Very unrestrained language from them here as well, obviously, because they're a bunch of pill-popping sex pests in wigs. The High Court has said that Enoch Burke and his family have engaged in the most deliberate, sustained and concerted attack on the civil courts and the rule of law in this country in recent times, and has ordered Mr. Burke's immediate imprisonment. Justice Cregan was given his judgment in an application by Wilson's Hospital School to have Mr. Burke arrested and jailed for continuing to breach a High Court order by trespassing on school premises. Judge Cregan said fines and the appointment of security guards had failed to stop Mr. Burke, and there was no other option left but to imprison him again. The judge also ruled that criminal contempt proceedings should be taken against Mr. Burke, as well as his brother Isaac, his sister Amy, and his mother Martina for their conduct in court hearings. So they're going to lock the entire family up. Amazing. You might ask why he's being so stubborn about this, but what you have to remember is all these overbearing, tyrannical laws that the scum that lord it over us and rule with an iron fist, what they do is they pass laws that don't pass muster. And they get them through past public opinion by saying, oh, it's only a fine. And the simple answer to that is, what do you do if we don't pay the fine? You may well remember that Count Dankula, when he did his genuinely pretty funny, obvious comedy video with his pug giving the old Adolf salute, when that happened, they said, oh, well, we'll just fine him. Obviously, he was going to make a point of not paying the fine, so they'd have to send him to prison. So the Scottish government, being even more tyrannical and woke than the English one, they just stole the money from his bank account so he couldn't make himself a martyr and make a political point. But that's what the problem is here. Most of the laws that the woke lunatics ram through aren't worthy of a custodial sentence, so they just dress it up with a fine. But people of principle, like Mr. Burke, refuse to pay the fine. So then what? Yeah, jail him, and not just jail him, jail his entire family. And it wouldn't be so bad if the Irish courts were strict with crime, would it? But they aren't. For example, here's some recent cases involving some swarthy chaps, and you'll be pleased to know that they are copying their ridiculous English cousins. Zakaria Mansour, a former pro footballer from Algeria, loads of nice fellas come from Algeria, has avoided jail after he gouged another man's eyes out in a Ramadan fast-fueled incident. A Ramadan-fueled incident. I'm sorry, I didn't think missing a meal was the psychoactive equivalent of downing 4 bottles of Buckfast. 3 former members of the armed forces who attacked another young man in a brutal late-night fight were given suspended sentences. Sandra Monimi, who created an alias to avoid deportation and used it to falsely claim social welfare, was given a suspended sentence. So fraud, illegal immigrant, professional scam artist, thief, suspended sentence. A non-national, and by that they mean lying, devious, thieving illegal immigrant who repeatedly breached a safety order, including by posting an animated Facebook video with his ex-wife's distorted voice over it, had his jail sentence replaced. 2 people who acted as money mules as part of a romance fraud on a pensioner. Only someone truly contemptible, someone genuinely evil, would rob a vulnerable pensioner. But 2 people who robbed an old vulnerable pensioner of €27,000 have obviously been given suspended sentences. A man who grabbed a woman by the throat had his 4-month jail term replaced with a suspended sentence, and a former Bank of Ireland employee who stole 200k before attempting to set the building on fire. So what's that? Bank robbery and arson for good measure. He showed a total disregard for public safety, but he was given a fully suspended sentence. You know what? I think they've even got us beat for a narco-tyranny there, haven't they? Robbing a bank and setting it on fire, and they just give you a slap on the wrist. Suspended sentence. Back in the day, you were looking at about 8 years if you robbed a bank, weren't you? Well, not anymore. Not if your name's Umbutu Weto. The judge said the court had not directed Mr. Burke to refer to a pupil by a new pronoun or to do or say anything that might conflict with his religious beliefs. And he said he wasn't being imprisoned for his views on the trans thing. He said they'd simply directed him that he must not trespass on school premises, as he had been dismissed from his position for gross misconduct. The judge went on to describe Mr. Burke's presence at the school as deeply unsettling. Deeply unsettling. These are the people who put hundreds of unvetted, hairy-ass migrant men up in hotels outside primary schools. What do you think's going to be more upsetting to the children? The former teacher turning up at school, which is where teachers live, or watching 20 Somalian blokes getting pissed in deck chairs across the road from the school and then shitting in the bushes on the playing field. And then he just launched a scathing attack on him, basically, and said he wouldn't take any lessons in religion from the Burkes, and he said they had no monopoly on Christian values. The judge, can you imagine that? This is like Owen Jones lecturing the Archbishop of Canterbury about Christian values. Yeah, phoning him to give him a lecture about Christian values while he's getting piped by 8 blokes, ripped to the tits on poppers in a gay nightclub. Yeah, you people have got absolutely no idea what you're talking about. Who is this pill-popping sex pest to lecture a guy like that about Christianity? Anyway, the short version is I believe he's been sacked now. There was some discussion about maybe that he kept showing up on school property in order to keep his job, but I believe they have sacked him, and now he's doing it as a point of principle, and he's right to do that because they're going to end up locking up his entire family, and hopefully that'll drive public sentiment towards where it should be driven, which is furious ire towards the scum that lorded over the Irish people, importing their replacements and treating them with kid gloves, as you've all seen many, many times, no matter what violent, appalling, thieving, kiddie fiddling, surprise sex incidents they're involved in. They get treated with kid gloves, and a man of principle gets slammed and locked up for Christmas with his mum, his sister. Well, the entire family's in there. The whole lot of them. It's going to be like Everybody Loves Raymond, prison edition for the next 12 months for that poor lot. So it's unbelievable. But the bloke's standing on a point of principle, and I dare say he's got the right of it. But what say you? Do you think disagreeing with George Soros and Klaus Schwab and all the other woke sociopaths should mean that basically you've got to spend the entirety of the Christmas period in jail with your mother and father? Or do you think maybe we should start to get a little bit pissed off about the whole thing? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Please let me know in the comments down below. I'll see you all tomorrow. Toodle pip. Cheers.